Hello, fellow Homo sapiens. I am Kyle, and we are back with Kyle's Lists. Today, we are continuing the series of my all-time favorite movies. If you have not seen the first video, it will be included in the description, so go ahead and stop this one and watch that one, as this is technically a part 2. But let's go ahead and get to it. Today, we are going again from number 90 to 81, and we're going to kick it off. At number 90, we have Safety Not Guaranteed. This 2012 film, directed by Colin Trevorrow, made waves at film festivals around the world. And it's about a man who takes out a classified ad in the newspaper claiming that he can time travel, and he's looking for a partner or assistant to take along with him. And then the newspaper people are sent to investigate whether or not this claim is true. It stars Mark Duplass, Aubrey Plaza, Jake Johnson, and a couple of other kind of fun cameos put in there. But it's a really, really interesting and ambiguous movie. It's got fantastic chemistry between Mark Duplass and Aubrey Plaza. They're both lovable leads. They're very quirky characters. It's a very quirky movie, but it's severely underrated in that I think not a lot of people talk about it as one of the best films of 2012, as I clearly think that it is. It's really interesting, it's bizarre, it's funny, it's dramatic, and overall sort of a really moving movie that's just really, really unique. At number 89, we have Pitch Perfect. Yes, the cultural zeitgeist that is Pitch Perfect. I am a huge fan of this movie. It has one of the many love of my lives, Anna Kendrick, in the starring role, and she is absolutely fantastic. The whole cast is great. The music, the singing, it's great. It somehow made a cappella kind of cool again, even though it shouldn't be, but at the same time kind of should be. It spawned a trilogy, which progressively got worse, but it doesn't take away from the first movie because the first movie could be a standalone movie. Anyway, the cast is excellent. Anna Camp, Brittany Snow, Adam Devine, Skylar Astin, they're all great in the roles. The musical performances, again, are excellent, and then obviously the standout is Fat Amy, or should I call her Fat Patricia, played by Rebel Wilson. Probably the most quotable movie of the 2010s for general audiences, and is overall just one of those movies that you really love to watch. At number 88, we're moving on to Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the 5th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. It is the first, but not the last Mission Impossible movie to be included on this list. It is Christopher McQuarrie's debut into the Mission Impossible franchise. I have always thought of the Mission Impossible franchise like a fine wine. It gets better with age, and this movie is no exception. Bigger and bolder than the previous movie, this movie has Tom Cruise doing another crazy round of stunts, hanging off the side of a plane, holding his breath underwater for 3 minutes straight, riding on a motorcycle at super dangerous speeds. Cruise does what Cruise does. This movie does a little bit something unique, though, that the other films hadn't done, in presenting two kinds of characters we hadn't seen before. Sean Harris is a welcome addition. His villain is very understated and sort of quiet and cold compared to like the bombastic Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's menacing, but he's like the silent menacing type. Rebecca Ferguson is probably the best addition to the franchise. She plays Ilsa Faust, and she provides a new character in the series because she sort of flip-flops back and forth between working for the villains and working alongside Ethan, and her chemistry with Tom Cruise in the movie makes for a really, really cool dynamic, and one that will continue in the next movie. This movie sort of stands apart as the first movie to really be a technical marvel. They do a great job with the camera of sort of putting it down in new angles to sort of make the action look unique and fresh in the series. And obviously they're doing these insane stunts, so they really just kind of put the camera down and let these insane stunts happen. And I think that that visual style that McQuarrie brought is very, very good for the movie. All right, moving on to number 87, we have John Wick Chapter 2. Now, I will admit, I was a little late to the John Wick series. I did not see the original when it came out in 2014, and I did not see the 2017 John Wick Chapter 2 in theaters. I actually watched it on DVD when I bought both the DVDs for cheap because I was convinced by a hallmate of mine freshman year to watch the series. And let's just say, I'm in. I'm all in. This movie takes everything that's great about the first movie and expands it. The first movie's kind of this noir style thriller with some great action set pieces, but the second movie just goes into full blown action. Chad Stahelski is much more confident and takes a lot more risks with this movie than he does in the first because the first had so much success. It ups the ante. My favorite thing about the movie, compared to the first one though, is it takes kind of this really cool world with the Continental Hotel and sort of the assassin underworld, and it expands on it so much that sets up for John Wick Chapter 3, but also sort of dives into the events before the first John Wick movie and dives into his past and just really does a great job of world building. Obviously, the biggest draw about this movie is its great action set pieces. It's got great fight choreography. It's got really realistic gunplay. It's got an absolute banger of a soundtrack from Tyler Bates, and this band Nostalgia plays this song called Plastic Heart and is an all-time absolute banger of a song. So please check out John Wick Chapter 2. Moving right along to number 86, we have Baby Driver. God bless the legend that is Edgar Wright. Baby Driver is a phenomenal movie, and it takes place in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. Every time I'm driving on Spaghetti Junction or coming off 285, I think to myself, man, I could drive like Baby does. But that would be really dangerous and stupid, so I don't. But I like to think in my head that I could. John Hamm takes a villainous role in this movie and does a really good job. Elgort's good. Lily James is good. But the movie is just so well directed, and it has one of the most unique and diverse soundtracks ever in a movie. This is the most unique action movie because it takes the music and actually lines it up with some of the sound effects going on. So the sound mixing works really well, whether it's a rev of a car engine or a bullet flying, but it also uses music to sort of guide the plot along as the songs are relevant to what's happening in the movie. It also features one of the funniest sort of name gags that I've ever seen in a movie with the Michael Myers mask situation. So, I mean, if you haven't seen Baby Driver, obviously you should. Just absolutely fantastic movie. Moving on to number 85, we have Hereditary. Ari Aster's debut film is nothing short of utterly fantastic. This movie can be a little polarizing, but I think that most people accept it for what it is. For those of you that haven't seen it, I'm not going to dive too much into the plot because, again, I try to keep these spoiler-free. But the trailers are very misleading, and it's not necessarily what the film is about. This movie is a slow burn, family drama, half the time, horror movie in the second half, and it's really just a unique film. And a lot of people thought that the ending sort of came out of nowhere, but this is a movie where when you watch it the second and third time, you see how brilliant the foreshadowing and the buildup is to its crazy finale. It's genuinely a terrifying movie. I saw it in theaters with my little sister, and I'm not ashamed to say that I jumped. This movie scared the absolute crap out of me, and that's pretty tough to do because usually I'm able to expect it, but this movie had my heart racing numerous times. It has, in my opinion, the greatest performance by an actor or actress ever in a horror movie with Toni Collette. I was so angry when no awards show, especially the Academy, just decided to recognize her performance. Horror movies and action movies get absolutely no love at award shows, and we need to change that. Moving right along to number 84, which is Paddleton. Not Paddington, Paddleton. It's a little 90-minute Netflix original movie that came out a few years ago that absolutely shocked me in how good it was. It stars Mark Duplass, again, and Ray Romano, and both of them give performances way outside of their usual typecasts. It is funny, it's sad, it's a story about friendship, about mortality, and about death, and it's really, really touching. Romano and Duplass have great chemistry. It's a really simple movie, but it's just this sort of nice emotional roller coaster of a movie that you get to go down. Also, the game of Paddleton, which the movie is obviously titled after, is a really interesting game and one that I would absolutely love to play in the future if I can find a really good place to play it. Overall, it's just a short little 90-minute watch that'll really kind of tug at your heartstrings, and you'll be pleasantly surprised about how the film moves you. Moving on to number 83, which is The Town. This Ben Affleck directed crime drama is based in the titular town of Charlestown, which is right near Boston in Massachusetts. It is the bank robbery capital of the U.S. Ben Affleck is one of those people who I think is one of the more underappreciated directors in Hollywood. I think he's a better director than he is actor. Not to take away from his acting ability, especially in this movie, he's great, but he is a really, really good director. Affleck does a really good job of providing you with some intense and heart-pounding action shootouts combined with heists, similarly executed to Michael Mann's Heat. It is a great movie with great acting from its supporting cast of Jeremy Renner, Rebecca Hall, and Blake Lively. Jeremy Renner was nominated for Academy Award. He's great. The movie has a really, really satisfying ending and does a really good job of showing what made these people want to become bank robbers, and also how the lifestyle that they've chosen affects the people that are in their lives that are outside of their chosen profession. Moving right along to number 82, which is Wind River, another directorial debut from none other than Taylor Sheridan. Sheridan had written a number of movies in the past, including movies such as Sicario and Hell or High Water, but this was the first movie that he both wrote and directed. This movie is really, really interesting. It stars Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, yes, in a little bit of an Avengers Age of Ultron reunion, and was kind of largely passed over by audiences. Taylor Sheridan does a really good job of representing people who are underrepresented in films. In this particular case, it's Native Americans who live on the titular Wind River Reservation. It's a murder mystery, but it's also not your typical murder mystery in that it's much more of a dramatic movie than it is a thriller. It's much more of a character study and a depiction of what life is like on the reservation. Elizabeth Olsen's great. The movie does have a couple of really standout, tense scenes. The atmosphere is great, the cinematography is great, and Taylor Sheridan is on top form and a solid directorial debut. And finally, rounding out our list today is number 81, Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. This movie can be a little bit polarizing amongst people because some people like me really love the movie and appreciate it for what it is. Other people think it's a little bit self-indulgent and narcissistic. I'm not one of those people. I think it's really, really well done. Michael Keaton is an absolute American treasure, and anybody who says otherwise is dead wrong. This is easily the best performance of his career. It's also the most meta performance of his career because the movie focuses on a character who used to play a superhero who then struggles with getting people to take him seriously in other roles, which was something that Michael Keaton actually experienced. Michael Keaton is fantastic. The supporting actors are fantastic as well. Emma Stone, Edward Norton, Naomi Watts, even Zach Galifianakis is great. He plays against typecast in this movie. It's edited and shot to appear as one long continuous take, but they didn't do it, but it looks really, really cool. It's got a really interesting sort of drum-led soundtrack. It's about sort of recognizing your own insignificance in a world that prides people on being significant. But overall, the movie is just really, really good. It's sharply directed. I mean, it won Best Picture for a reason. It's just really, really good. And there you have it, number 90 through 81 of my favorite all-time movies. Tune in next week for number 80 through 71. Thanks for watching. One last thing to leave you with, if you're working from home like me, it can be garbage sometimes. So take a couple of minutes in your day to just shut the computer down and take some time to yourself and sort of allow yourself to have you time because you deserve it.